Hey guys, Martin again. I really didn't want to do one of these today. When I say that, I don't mean I don't want to be doing this. I do want to do this. I want to keep doing this for as long as I can keep doing this. Today I really didn't feel good up to doing it, you know? I had a really bad day yesterday. I spent a lot of it, at least the first half, I spent really struggling. I don't know how to describe it without getting too upsetting, but I was convinced everybody hated me. I was convinced my friends didn't want me around. I don't know how to talk about this because the reason I started feeling that way is because I was alone in the house for a long time, and that's when it's the hardest for me. And I don't want to I don't want to blame anybody for leaving me on my own, because it's nobody's fault. This is nobody's fault. This is certainly not my fault, and it's not, if you're feeling similar things, it's not your fault. But I really felt really bad yesterday, and it was completely because I was alone with my thoughts, and I couldn't distract myself, and I couldn't bring myself to reach out to anybody, and that was a really bad time. Fortunately, I had a thing planned with some friends later in the day, so I was able to get out of the house and, after a lot of crying, get out of the house and go see them. And it was nice to hang out and pretend everything was okay. And this was hard, like I said. I didn't want to do this because I just kept telling myself nobody wants to hear what I have to say. But I just set up the camera and set the microphone up and forced myself. And that's what you have to do sometimes. Sometimes you really feel when you're depressed, sometimes you just feel like you don't want to do something because you don't see the point. And that's not good. Nothing gets done, and you end up just sort of going through the same cycle over and over again of, well, I should do something. No, I shouldn't. It would be a waste of time. Well, now I've got nothing to do, and I am wasting my time. So I really sometimes have to force myself to just, and you, if you're listening to this and you have this problem, even if it's the smallest thing, like tidying the room or tidying a small part of the room, just if you have a task that you can do, it really does help to take your mind off things. And that's part of the reason I do this web series, is because it helps me take my mind off the fact that I'm depressed, and it helps me channel these feelings into something positive, because I do end up feeling pretty positive after these, usually 9 times out of 10, So yeah, I had to really force myself to do this, and it's going to be helpful. I know it's going to be helpful, and if I recommend doing it, honestly. If you want, even if you don't want to write down your feelings, maybe make a video journal, because this has been enormously helpful for me. And 5 minutes ago I was a wreck, and now I'm feeling quite a bit better, just being able to talk and knowing that this will be seen by people who feel similarly. So I recommend this, or like I said, tidying. I'm all over the place right now, and I apologize for that, because like I said, I'm not doing so well. I'll be all right though. I want to talk about. I've been delaying talking about it because it's something that it's going to be pretty difficult to talk about. Just to do it justice, it's not the depressing part of the video, because I try and talk about something positive and then talk about something negative, but this is something very positive, and you'll know from the title of the video what it is. But it's how Mariana and I, my wife, became a couple. And I might not finish the story today, or I might finish the story and not do it justice, so I might come back to it. But I want to talk about that because it makes me happy, and I really need that right now. So, without further ado, here's what makes me happy. First time I encountered Mariana, and you'll notice that sometimes you'll hear her referred to as Marianne. She calls herself Marianne most of the time. I call her Mariana. Her name's technically pronounced Mariana, but I guess I split the difference, and I say like my own version that nobody else tends to say. I don't know. I'm not doing that consciously. It's not like being like, oh, this is my version of your name. It's mine. Nobody else can have it. It's just how I've come to say it. But she doesn't care how you pronounce it usually. She'll accept any pronunciation. Mariana is how I say it, and it just comes naturally to me. When you know a person and you just have a way of saying their name. Sometimes it's a nickname, or sometimes it's just a shortened down version of it, and it just becomes natural to you after you become that close to them, even if just as a friend or a relative. And that's how I know her. That's the word I know her by. Her name, surprisingly, the first time I really was aware of her was through her voice work, because she's a voice actress, and she's been in several professional projects, but I've never been a big anime fan. I know some of you are probably surprised by that. I don't make a secret of it, but I just don't really talk about it that much. I'm not big into anime. I'm not big into cartoons in general. I love the ones that I've seen, and I love the anime shows that I enjoy. I really do love them, but I just don't go out of my way to watch them. Yeah. Do you watch anime, Mozzarella? Oh, which is your favorite? Akira. It's kind of pretentious. Well, she's into that. But I was I was aware of her through some of the stuff she'd done on Newgrounds. For those of you who remember Newgrounds, it's still going. I don't think it's got as big a presence online these days, which isn't a bad thing. There are some super talented people there, and I have got a lot of good friends who work on Newgrounds.com. Back in the day, this was like 2009, even 2008, 2009. I'd been aware of some of the work she'd done on there, mainly because of my friend Kurboh, who I'll probably talk about in a future video. I work on the series Tome with him. I voice one of the main characters. But Mariana had done voice work for him in some of his shorts and some of his other projects. There was a collaborative project that he would do on multiple occasions called Nintendo 64, or just the Nintendo series. I'm not sure exactly what the official title is, Kurboh, I'm sorry. Nintendo. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Very original title. But Mariana voiced a couple of characters in that, and her voice was very sexy, I won't lie. She has a very sexy voice, and I was just taken by it. And it wasn't like one of those things where I was like, I like that voice, I'm going to pursue that person and really, and really make this a thing. I was just, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, that person, she has a nice voice. And we ended up being cast in a project together. One of the Nintendo collabs. I think it was Nintendo to the 64th power. Curb, correct me if I'm wrong about that. But we played Dr. Scott. I'm probably wrong about that. I played the Doctor from F-Zero. I didn't even know there was a Doctor in F-Zero until I got this part. But I played the guy because apparently Dan Green had played him in the anime dub. Useless trivia. You're not going to be interested in any of that. Dan Green played him in the dub, so I was, as a tribute to that, I played him in the fan project. And Mariana played this nurse who was with me, who was I don't know if she's a character from F-Zero. I only know Captain Falcon. That's the only one I know, and that's because of Smash Brothers. I don't play a lot of these games. But she was the nurse and I was the doctor, and we had this scene where I'm like, damn it, I'm a doctor, not a blank. I can't remember what it is. You'll watch the video and you'll know. But I said that, and at the end of the scene, we end up making out quite violently. It's kind of gross. And I don't remember what specific reference Curb made, but there was another cartoon, I think it might have been Powerpuff Girls, where a similar situation happened where two characters start kissing and it gets kind of upsettingly vivid. And this was one of those situations, so our characters just start making out. I'd recorded the scene, and I didn't know Mariana was playing the character opposite me. I'd recorded the lines months in advance. I think maybe even a year in advance of the actual release of the project. But while it was being developed, Curb and I met up at a convention, and at one point he mentioned that Mariana was playing the nurse character, and I was like, oh, well, she's got a really nice voice. I'm really happy that my cartoon self is making out with her cartoon self. And I guess, I don't know, Curb played Cupid in the sense that he picked up the phone immediately after hearing this, and he called Mariana, because apparently she'd wanted to meet me several times in the past and it just hadn't happened. But he picked up the phone, he called her, and he handed it to me, and Mariana was on the other end, and we started talking, and we had a brief conversation. It wasn't anything really. She apparently, I don't remember it, I think I was just too flustered, but she invited me to come to LA and get dinner sometime, which was a nice prospect. And she was very nice, but I didn't think that I would ever get the chance to go to LA and meet her, or even talk to her again. I thought it was just one of those things. You go to conventions, you talk to so many people, and especially when it was over the phone and she wasn't even in the room with me, I didn't think anything was going to come of that. And then months later, she was in a Skype call with me and Curb. I think he just dragged her in, kicking and screaming. No, he pulled her into the Skype call, as you know, Skype calls tend to be. You know, people end up joining mid conversation, and she and I just started talking. And oh wait, I forgot. There was a message she sent to me, which was apparently her way of trying to broach, like, sort of break the ice over LiveJournal. She sent me a message saying she had a PS3 and she didn't know what video games she should get for it. The only one she had was, I forget, it's like a Square Enix game, I think. She was playing dumb, because she's an avid gamer and she knows what games were available for the PS3, but she wanted to sort of start communication with me, and she asked me what games I recommended, and I think I remember recommending Valkyria Chronicles, which is a great game if you've never played that. It's sort of a strategy. It's an anime-themed strategy game, and it's very cool. It's very beautiful to look at. And I recommended it just because I liked the voice acting, and because I guess I knew she was a voice actress and she was into anime, and that was the only thing I could think of that really crossed all those boundaries. But I recommended that, and she said she was aware of it. And we just started talking via Skype following the conversation we had with Curb. We hit it off relatively quickly. And when I say that, I don't mean we were like really aware of anything. I think we were contemplating the idea of a relationship. We were flirting with each other, and we would do it over social media, and people would comment on it being like, there's something going on here, and we were like, oh. And we ended up withdrawing from social media and just doing it via Skype. And, you know, we would talk for ages, and it was very obvious there was something there. And I'd been in long-distance relationships before, and, you know, they're a lot of stress, and sometimes they can be very painful. Meatball, what's wrong? Meat. Are you in a long-distance relationship with me? But I'd been in long-distance relationships before, but I personally believe if something's there, it's worth pursuing, you know, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you shouldn't regret trying. You should regret not trying, you know? So we tried. The thing that really made me fall in love with her was her voice, though. And I don't mean that because of her, you know, her voice acting and all that. She does have a very beautiful voice, but she sang for me. She recorded a bunch of songs. If you've ever heard her, I liked it on YouTube back in the day, but she did a cover of a Mika song called Blame It on the Girls, but she did it from the perspective of Seto Kaiba, and she wrote and performed that parody for me. And then she did a cover of Stray Italian Greyhound, which was remarkable and was kind of the thing that really made me fall in love with her head over heels. I was already falling in love with her, but hearing her sing that, and she was singing it about her feelings for me was really what made me completely and hopelessly fall in love with her. And then we met. Meatball, you want to come tell a story? He's just looking out the window, yowling at things. But she, we met up in LA, ultimately, much like the phone conversation had foretold. And we tried things out. We tried to go. We went on a few dates and we hung out quite a bit. And I still am a very immature person when it comes to relationships and certain aspects of them. And even friendships, I still struggle. But it was very clear that something was there and it was worth pursuing and it was worth nurturing. And we ended up just deciding, you know what, we want to try this out, but it isn't something that we can really do successfully or even efficiently if we're both in completely different countries. So at the end of the day, I had to make a decision as to whether I would regret more, you know, staying at home in England and being comfortable and being in the same situation I'd been for 28 years and having everything, you know, having my DVDs and my family there and everything, and basically being the same person I'd always been, and knowing I'd be okay with that. I had a choice between either that or being with the person I knew I'd be happier than anybody in the entire world, and being with the person I knew I would love for the rest of my life. And it isn't even a choice, you know. I knew what I was going to do. So here I am, and we're married now, and I'll tell that story at a future date because I realize I've been going for a while. But she makes me very happy. And I was very distressed at the beginning of this video, and I'm not so distressed anymore just because I've been thinking about her. And that's what she does for me. And I'm so grateful for her. And everything she puts up with from me, because she puts up with a lot. I'm definitely but not perfect. I'm as far as you can get from it, but she makes me feel like I could be close sometimes. And I'm always going to love her, and I'm always going to be with her, and I'm always going to be happy when she's here. So yeah, that's how I ended up meeting Mariana and subsequently deciding to be in a relationship with her. And she makes me very happy, and if you've ever met her, you know that she's a very positive... She's a positive thing in this world. And we need a lot more of people like Mariana. So yeah, that's the positive thing. And now onto the negative thing. Well, it's not really a negative thing. It's just something that tends to enter my mind. And it enters everybody's mind, you know, once in a while. It's not something that's specific to depression, but depression is certainly enhances the feeling. It exaggerates the feeling. You know, you start to wonder why you're even here. You know, what's your purpose, and why would anybody ever waste their time with you? And I that's what I was basically thinking yesterday, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Because when you get a certain amount, once you get down that path a certain ways, you start to think that you're not here for any reason and that you shouldn't be here, and that's not true. There couldn't be further from the truth. Believe me, I'm sure even the most worthy people in the world, some of the people who've had the most positive influence on the world, have said to themselves, why am I here? Why does anybody care? Why should anybody care? And they've probably never known the good that they've done. Or maybe they've only seen a small part of it. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And I'm not saying that you or I should compare ourselves to, like, these amazing people that have done world-changing things. But I've talked about it. I talked about it in the last video. you don't have to change the world to be a worthy person and to have worth. You've changed my life. You, the person that is watching this video right now, and I mean you have changed my life for the better by giving this video a chance and by listening to me. You might not ever meet me face to face, but I mean it. You're helping me right now. You're helping me so much. And if you can do that for me, you're probably doing that for a lot more people every day without realizing it. But I often start wondering, especially when I'm alone, well, maybe people don't really like me. Maybe people hate me and talk about me behind my back. And there are probably people who do that. But that's their problem. It's not my problem. There's always going to be people who are either bitter or two-faced. And there are going to be people who want you to feel this way. But they're the ones who need to readjust their attitude for different reasons. I have to adjust the way I feel because I'm so down on myself all the time. But people who are down on other people need to adjust themselves just as much. It can get very difficult when faced with a question like, why am I here? Because there is no answer. That doesn't mean that there's no reason for you to be here. That just means that it's a question that isn't meant to have an answer. You're meant to just sort of find out. And some people's purposes never really reveal themselves very clearly. But that doesn't mean that then they don't have one. It just means that they have a very vague or very non-specific purpose. But they still have one, and they still should be here. Even if you feel like you've hurt people from being here, you can change that. You're not only your faults, you're not only the negative things that you brought to the table, because it just means you're holding back all the positive things, and you need to really find those and bring those out as well. And they're there. Everybody has something positive about them. You're not worthless. You're not a bad person. You're not irredeemable. If you've got depression, you're going to have that feeling about yourself, but it's a lie. And just because you can't find the answer to the question you're asking yourself doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I believe that you should be here. I believe that you have a reason to be here. I believe that both of us do. For the longest time, I thought my purpose was to make really bad comics. And when I say really bad comics, I wasn't trying to make really bad comics. I was trying to make comics, but I wasn't getting anything out of it, and I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And I got so far into it, and it wasn't doing anything for me. And I was like, well, obviously, I have no reason to exist. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting everybody else's time. I just had to really take a look at myself and take a look at what made me happy and adjust. I had to just find a different path. And it's never that simple. It's never as simple as I'm making it sound. And it's never painless, and it's never without stress and drama. You're always going to have people telling you, it's depending on what you're doing, you're wasting your time, or that this isn't going to work out. You might even end up telling yourself that. But if it's something you're passionate about, and if it's something that makes you and even other people happy, then it's worth pursuing. Why am I here? I believe I'm here to make people laugh. And you wouldn't think so from watching these videos. And when I say that, I don't mean that I'm here to be like a famous comedian. I just believe that I'm here to every so often make someone chuckle. And back in the day when I started making my show, when I started making Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, I was convinced I would only make 1 or 2 people chuckle, and I would have been very okay with that. Oh, getting a phone call. It's Mariana. Hello?
Hey, I'm going to try and use up some stuff in the freezer. I'm probably gonna cook a couple meals tonight. Do you think you could pull out? There should be either beef stew, beef.
Sorry about that. Long conversation about what we're going to have for dinner the next few nights. But that's marriage for you. But why am I here? I believe I'm here to make people laugh. And it's a small thing to want to do, but it makes a big difference. And so if you ever find that, something that you're good at feels insignificant in the grand scheme of things, just know that the grand scheme isn't all that matters. What matters is that you're doing something that makes you happy. And in turn, that's going to make other people see that you're happy. And it's going to ultimately make a positive difference for you and for them. So, whenever you ask yourself questions like that, just remind yourself that the answer isn't that important. Getting an answer isn't as important as it feels. Finding that one thing isn't important, because these things fluctuate. These things change all the time. Hi, Harley. You want to come up? Come on. I don't know if you guys have met Harley yet. This is our newest cat, Harley. Oh, of course you've met him. I did a video about them. But yeah, he's a little cuddle guy. He loves cuddles. He's very dumb. He doesn't respond to his name very much. But the important thing about asking yourself these questions is that you want to have a purpose. And remind yourself of that. Remind yourself that the fact that you're even asking means that you think you're worth having a purpose. And you are. You're worth finding something that keeps you going and keeps you wanting and keeps you happy and keeps other people happy. Like look at Harley. He's very happy to just be cuddled all day. That's his purpose. And it's a perfectly good purpose, isn't it, Harley? Makes him happy. And it makes me happy to cuddle him. So remember that whenever you're asking yourself that for this guy, something as simple as a pet on the back is enough to make his life infinitely better. And maybe it'll be a bit more complicated for you, but when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, which is an intimidating prospect, but when you do look at it that way, it can seem that simple. Because ultimately, we're all pretty small. We're blips on the radar. But as long as we're happy blips, that's what matters. What are you doing sucking on my finger? You're making this weird. This is my purpose. Harley, what are you doing? You're being weird. I'm in a much better mood after making this video, I have to say. You can probably tell. You can probably tell just from having been here watching it. And I want to thank you for being here to see it. And thank you for being here in general. I'm going to go and edit this, and then I've got some more writing to do. I've got to work on my Mark Remark videos, and then I'm going to start continue working on Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. What are you doing? But I'll see you next week. Not much else to report. Got nothing much else going on. I've got a few recording sessions this week, but aside from that, life goes on. And that's okay. And thank you for watching. You take care of yourself.